Tashi Tele, everyone.
다시 내려 계시다. 다시 내려 everyone.
네. 지기구나. 차츠야. 야야, 나는 싫어 가서. Okay, so we do prostration. Namo manjo ye, namo so ye, namo damo ye so ha. Namo manjo ye, namo so ye, namo damo ye so ha. Namo manjo ye, namo so ye, namo damo ye so ha. Jina zogi jona la janjo mando dani gyabzo ji dagi chunyen gibe zonan gi jola benje sangi juba jo. Jina zogi jona la janjo mando dani gyabzo ji dagi jinzo gibe zonan gi jola benje sangi juba jo. Jina zogi jona la janjo mando dani gyabzo ji dagi chunyen gibe zonan gi jola benje sangi juba jo. Ye begi shuje me do zhang, shira li shi ni de gen ba de, sangi shin du mi de wu wa yi, yoge nam da shen ma je ba ju, yi dan gu ru ran na men da la gan ni ya da ya bi.
마시발라 단지 마셔봐 이 등재지 만드나 대화는 이제 만도 로지 등에 바히 노안에 디가 이기다 문도 등재지 만드나 대지 피서도 받아 되나 좀 내가 제지 되는 거 대신 대신 뭐라는 것이
So please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. Then think, all sentient beings have been my mothers, and they have been my mothers for numberless times. They are as kind as my mothers of this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, however, due to engaging wrongly in the objects of abandonment and adoptions, they only experience suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mothers and sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mothers and sentient beings had excellent happiness. May all kind mothers and sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mothers and sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디에서 도와주나 있으니 대다 통 이제 리지 내 나선 중앙시 내발아서 리지면 팀이 좀 타고 좀 저 지지 저 비신 대신에 뭐라는 신기한 무슨 문제가
Next, we generate compassions towards all suffering mothers and sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if the body of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as pain, suffering, sickness, and problem caused by elements. May the body of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the body of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디지 동아리나 있으니까 더 이친지 저기 동네다 나도 잘하는 거 카드가 좀 저지 저다고 저기 되시는 분은 다시.
How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as pain, such as mental suffering, fear, and coarse and subtle conceptual thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
대지 동아리나 등지지 만드나지. 뭐가 진짜서 맞지 뭐 차라 타다가 좀 지다고 저기 되시는 분은
How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Negative speech such as telling lies and divisive speech. May the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant, free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디지 동아리나 등지지 만드나지 고소지 이 샤워도 보면 느낌이 좀 타다잖아 좀 저지 저다고 저기 되시는 분은
In brief, how nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디지 생제 통제 능에다 능이 지다 좀 저지 저다고 저기 되시는 분은
How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. I will free all sentient beings from suffering and its causes. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디지 동아리나 있으니까 더 지금 코아등에 수도 동네를 둬 코스라 보고 공연하라 보죠 대리 내가서 양다고 그 성지지 공부하는 게 이거 대답은 이거 쓰라 양다고 그 성지를 여기 그래서 이제 탐지적 성지지 공부하는 거 시점이 좀 시험 전혀 생깁니다.
Next, we generate bodhicitta, first by asking ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. However, I do not have the ability to do so now. Who has the abilities? Only those perfectly complete enlightened Buddhas have the abilities to do so. Thus, for the sake of all sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the state of enlightenment.
어디지 이제 탐지된 산지 공부도 마셔 maybe say 고조 같은 게 한국인가 더 해주고 그래서 최단적으로 이제 모두 공부하는 게 세로 지금 대단히 자주시 나그니가 다이트 도지가 세가 뭔가 지금 this is
Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind. The conventional aspiring bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a white mundis at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent existence. These transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. That I neither exists inherently one with, nor inherently different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist inherently. Then, as I say, it is very important to conjoin our the roots of virtue of our three doors with the practice of six perfections. And the first one is the practice of generosity. And generosity is mainly a mind of giving. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will dedicate my body and my mind to Dharma. Next is morality. Morality is mainly a mind of abandonment. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will properly abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest. Next is patience. Patience is an undisturbed mind. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, whatever physical or mental hardships occur, I will embrace it. Next is the practice of joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I take delight in working for the welfare of others, and I will take delight in accumulating virtues. Next is concentration. And concentration is a mind that single-pointedly focuses on any of the virtuous object. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will focus my mind on the intended virtuous object, and do not get influenced by conceptual thoughts and distractions. Next is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will properly understand the words and the meaning of the words. Set motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I'm going to receive the teaching on Lamrim, and I will practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Yeah. That was some delays.
So secondary discussions of their specific order. This has 3 points. The order in which they arise. So they refer to 6 perfections, such as generosity. And the order is in terms of superiority. Why the reason why why they are arranged in this order. So in terms of superiority, and the order in terms of subtlety.
That I'm going to pass it to the Jimba to but Sandy here to the Wa. That dear to the ship. That dear to the Mazama to the Nanji on the Tarare, Rino, Abu Jimba, G, Seba. That's interesting to hear about Maridarwa. But that Mari Teva, the Shabway, that didn't say that she.
So the order in which they arise. So when we talk about 6 perfections, the order of 6 perfections is the first one is generosity, the second one is morality, third, patience, fourth, joyous effort, fifth, meditative concentration, and number 6 is wisdom.
That I'm going to Jimba the Shiwere, that Longilla Matai, that Macha be Jimba to the that don't Simba, Longilla Macha, the Tony Simba, Jimba Yobaina, that's sitting there, Jean Hughlin to Woody, sitting there, Chit to Woody, as well. That condition is to what is not. Once Jimba, Longilla Matai, Jimba, Yabu, Jimba, Yabu, Ponce, Yabu. 东西的level的然后问题是现在老说东西把它们的就东西，这东西的level的，
那么讲到的东西的也我level的，
弄起了嘛，在北新北有的是东西也不level哇，东西也不就level的，对于问题是现在老说把问题是东西的东西应该是level。公司的就定我是自己的大level的，自己的我是帮先把这个弄哇。
对，没准错。
哦，对，问题说，对帮先把，帮先把大我是先把要会公司另外的自己的来做的也是他的那点哇。
So the order in which they arise, if you have generosity that is indifferent and not attached to wealth, you will adopt ethics. So that means if you have if you have this generosity and these minds of giving, then that is indifferent or unconcerned with wealth and not attached to wealth, then you will adopt ethics. Meaning, if you have these minds of giving, then in order to have these minds of giving, then you will abandon the class which is discordant with it. You abandon the class that is discordant with these minds of giving. So because of this, you will adopt ethics. So if one have a good morality, then patience will arise as well. Because when the faults opposing morality arises, then we have to be patient with it. So we have to practice patience in relation to that. Therefore, patience will arise.
control Tsongkhapa lebaina ta khola pe hadan tin ji pe sing la so ba ne ba la ba na tali han ja ko mutine se ko ta le che ba yan ja mutine te ni so ren ba ji de de zhen de ta ra ra shi le za ta kana de la se ko ta le mutine ji de zhen de mutine le wa ko ta ta dan jing da se ba de se ko ta le ya bu jo ba na zhen de ra shi le bu wa.
So if we have patience that doesn't despair with respect to hardships. So you have this patience that able to bear with hardships, then naturally joyous effort will arise. So for example, if there is an enemy or persons who say negative words to us, so then we practice patience one time in relation to that person, in relation to that person one time. So if that person come again and again and say bad things to us, then we again and again practice patience in relation to that person's right. So naturally, from these, joyous effort arises.
Oh, that zendri de be, that zendri pi da boden, di nen se ku de zendri ya bu ji zang ba ina. Da ge xiao de ba la zendri ya bu ji zang ba ina. Da zendri de yo xin ji la de se ge wa la. Be, se ge xiao la be zai ji de nyang ba xia ge, da ni ba de le wo. Zendri de me na nyang ba xia ge, ni ba de le tu ma ro wa. Da zendri de be xu da bu ji yo ba ina. Da ge wa la zhuo ya ge be de nyang ne jia la ba ha jia ga wa da duo de xu ji de ba ina. Da zendri 真的有把那这样子定在两把下的，这两把下土的是吧？是吧？定在两把下个身体来土的是吧？这定在两把下大概上点了哇。
Yeah. So if one have a joyous effort, then naturally the concentration will arise. So the concentration that single pointedly that is one's mind single pointedly focus on the virtuous object. So because of having this joyous effort, then this concentration will naturally will arise because of this mind. Because as this concentration will arise. Concentration is the single-pointed mind. Single-pointed mind focuses on the virtuous object.
Oh, 真的是对讲的，谁给了你把那看到自己的两把下边两下的也不要把呢，把两下给俺呢，都全场就是面路的去打完就都显了我是吧？两下也会下把呢，两下个别真的身体颠簸也不要把呢。那的，我的都是都去过你弄的，知道我的线路也是，都知道我的线路，等我都写了就不行了，是吧？
So when the mind is in a stable meditative equipoise, then you will realize reality as it is. So realizing a reality is the wisdom.
咱们就这人把的是吧？但这人把的上当了，大上比大不要的，这上当了，就是公的不能是吧？ 但你把的民族人把的人，但民族人把的，但对地上来的，但俺们没了什么去地上来的，看到，现在就拍起了点呢，上帝就拍起的拉，娘子连吧，但现在就拍起娘子连吧了，上帝就拍起娘子连吧拉，上帝就拍起娘子连吧了，真的就拍起娘子连吧拉，但真的就拍起娘子连吧了，随便拍起娘子连吧拉，随便拍起娘子连吧了，这里就拍起娘子连吧点来了。 这里就把娘子连完的，一个把娘子连完，那个也是，那什么嘞？看到，俺们嘞，什么错噻？比如啊。
So this is how
this. 老等于我们这里的，但那俺们什么错噻？那但那就不能个，你俺们什么错我的，这个人就俺们新把自己错，自己也是把错，我就是来说这个。
That's all. Yeah, so this is the order in which they arise. So as it first you start with generosity, then followed by morality, patience, and etc. So the next outline is the order in terms of superiority, and only one sentence under this outline. The earlier are inferior, and the later are superior. So compared to meditative concentration, wisdom is superior. Compared to joyous effort, meditative concentration is superior, and compared to patience, joyous effort is superior. Compared to morality, patience is superior. Compared to generosity, morality is superior. So that this is what it means by the earlier are inferior and the later are superior.
哦，这在查了的人都在英国写的吧？那查了的看到，有时候拍起住，俺们呢，娘子连把了，你就把那个人是，就是把俺们的娘子连把了，你就把那个人是，西马的娘子连把了，你就把七星都搞个人是，是吧？但俺们了，娘子连了，连他话去，但西马呢，娘子连把了，把就嘛，他旁人现在看到吧？我等你对下头嘛。
So the order in terms of subtlety, since the earlier are easier to engage in and perform than the later, they are coarser. Since the later are more difficult to engage in and perform than the earlier, they are more subtle. So basically, as a generosity is easier to engage in and perform than morality. So morality is easier to engage in compared to patience. So the earlier ones are easier to engage, thus they are coarser. And then the later one, such as meditative concentration and wisdom, then they are more difficult compared to the earlier one. So therefore they are more subtle.
单独的这个词调上来是吧？单独的这个词单独的说出来，俺们起码查了一些把调上定出来吧？我的这个词调上来，但对我是嘛那个写吧。
So the meaning of this quotation from Ornament for the Mahayana Sutra is explained. The meaning of this quotation is in these sentences.
that's much the love is in battle and niche that chepa is the chepa the passion tamani loves that you I did live it, dear my levity, chepa chillos the rang sanji chim, pashi, inji, pashi, big loves is Levodua. Rang sanji chimney pashi, pashi, that is Jiba, city Jimbalas, pages of pashi to the head, Roa, doing up with the inji, pashi, the shower, that they don't do it.
Yeah. So the stages of training, this has 2 points: how to train in the conduct in general, and how to train in the last 2 perfections in particular. Under this first subdivision, how to train in the conduct in general. Again, this has 2 points: training in the perfections that ripens one's own Buddha's qualities, and training in the 4 ways of gathering disciples that ripen the minds of others. Training in the perfections that ripen one's own Buddha qualities. Then again, this has 6 points: how to train in generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, meditative stabilization, and wisdom.
That number is Zimbabwe, that Zimbabwe Matenda, those Tsongkhapa was a Jew. That Jimping water, I do like Jesus, a dear son. That's how much I got cheaper Jijan, but she's a budget to Roa. Or that Jimping war, Rai Gilaches, that Jimping war in my share with Tambo. That Jimping war, Najitaba, she was a Pakatula, the point somebody, points in Bakiwati. Points in Bakiwashi, the word, points in Jinchawashi, the word, the Dilani, the Russian Kajela, points in Jinchapa. Yeah, at point Simbasna, or de Wishna, and you go. That the cutting was a point Simbakiwa that is he can have that Lingak, Lingak loaded in the Lingak, Jimbal and you give it December is a show. Lingak, Jimbal and you because somebody. But this somebody that can also chow or is a chow.
So how to train in generosity? This has 3 points: the nature of generosity, its subdivisions, and how to generate a generosity in one's mind. So basically, these subdivisions, nature, divisions, and how to generate applies to the rest of the perfections as well. So the nature of generosity is a virtuous intention to give, and the actions of body and speech motivated by it. So the nature of generosity is a virtuous intention to give. Sometimes they call it a continuous intention to give, or a virtuous intention to give, or intention to give. And the actions of body and speech motivated by it. So the actions of body and speech motivated by it refers to the intentions when the body and speech engage in the actions.
Oh, the was a tongue simba, Jub Machabi Simba. Jima Tong Simba de la Jub Machabi Simba. That long jealous about Machabi Simba, the Levita and the Jimba Judy, pieces of my child, Jub Machabi Simba. That Jimbi in Dribbles water, that long pieces of a Jimbi Dribbler, Jimbi Dribbler, long pieces of Jimbi Jutela, no Angela Machabi Simba, that Machabi Simba, Judy. And Dribbler and that long pieces of that Jisha Shiva, Jimbi long pieces of that kind of Shilly conditions. That another shade somewhat in a soil stop, solar chimneys up, or deal with Chile. That you didn't conditions now, you did the same upon you did a thing, you did it. Let's don't say, but you did cardiacs and send upon you did a thing. Or that condition will reason by Jimba, that Jimby what you are, but to do it.
So regarding the nature of generosity, then the cause of the so regarding generosity, the cause of generosity is unattached intention, or the intentions that do not attach. And the result of generosity is because of the resources or wealth. And the function of generosity is it extensively completes the collections in oneself and in others. And the quality of generosity is it has the qualities of abandoning miserliness. So these are the 4 features: the cause of generosity, the result of generosity, the functions of generosity, and the qualities of generosity.
That in the Jimba de la Canda, no combat, that's in the Zimba de Patu, that and that. Don't say what the Lacano, Yanni, and the combat, and the combat, the Jimmy part of the Shiba. yes, go. As you but don't say about a young and compassion, yes, that gentleman labels one. Did not jail label.
So, rather, generosity is perfected when one's miserly grasping is destroyed and when one has become completely familiarized with the minds of giving to others along with their effects. So, I say we have to abandon the miserliness. We have to destroy the miserliness, and then to familiarize oneself with the practice with generosity, and then becomes the complete. This becomes the perfection of generosity.
That the neighbor rightly, that you are touching but my you are showing that day so the right, the Jimbo is needed. You don't need it. That day so the right, so that just sounds like Jimbo the chimney chances, but the data you the chimney chances that Raju chances needed, data right machine. Chimba Raju, that to the Chimba Raju is a shield. Chimba Raju is the special gentleman that day. Chimba Raju is. Oh, that generation just sounds like Jimba as so. Just sounds like Jimba the chimney chances, chimney chances, chances Raju chicken, yes, so each teach and that. That sounds like Jimba, Majawa chances saw that in so many, so there is a Takandarwa, but the teacher,
So its subdivisions, this has 2 points, subdivisions from the point of view of individual basis and subdivisions of the nature of generosity itself. So individual basis basically refers to 2. One is the lay bodhisattvas and another one is ordained bodhisattvas. So the Bodhisattva Pratimoksha teaches that generosity of material things is generally practiced. So it's in the general context. So it's generally practiced by lay bodhisattvas, whereas ordained bodhisattvas should practice the generosity of the Dharma rather than the generosity of material gifts.
That Chimba Shansi, the Chimba Raju say, to Slavo, Raju, the Chimba, and the Dilajar, Chimba Jari, and then the Chimba Raju Jari. That Tevala said, watching Joala going to Raju with the China, and so Sansi so Chido Mini Majay, Jessica. The Tevala Tesson go to Chipala, watching Joala going to Kandarwa, Raju with Sansi Chido doing it, and the Jimba Ponati, the Missiko, a good Jesse maybe Chido Mambo, Jitan, do the Waina, that Tesson go to Chipala, Pachi Chawa, yes. The Pachi Chawa Sansa, they can't miss it in the Chido in it, that Jimba Pona Chido in the good Jesse Shubijana, the Tia Maris of that. The genetic and Tesson go to Pachi Chido years ago.
So basically, here the lay bodhisattvas and the ordained bodhisattvas basically refers to the lay person and also the ordained one. So, so moreover, the Compendiums of Training says that it is prohibited for the ordained to give gift after working for material things, considering that it interrupts studies and so forth. So if why do we say that ordained bodhisattvas they should not specifically practice the generosity of material gifts? It's because if there is no specific purpose and specific reasons, then the ordained ones accumulate work or to accumulate many material things. These will become an obstacle to their studies. So because of this reason, then the ordained ones should not focus on the generosity of material gifts. However, they should give material things if they obtain them in great quantities through the power of their previous merit without harm to their virtuous activities. So if without harming their virtuous activities and they have lots of resources or wealth due to their previous merit, due to the power of their previous merit, then they should give material things to others.
다 계시 자라에 대가라 소고 쳐라 간다 똥이 배 지금 미세 인진빈이 지금 인세 아때 줘서 또 순서들 해주래 와 계시 자라 또 순서들 해주나 지 전에 정말 그거 되나 다 쪼들 해주나 순서래 안다 짐바 똥이 쳐라 배 줘지 같이 소소 선을 내려 선을 배 마무리 잡아이나 배 마땅 바이나 애들 님이 요래서 안다 계속 와 다 간다 해주고 배 체도 미네 간다 미세기 들리 다 간다 그거 제전에 봐 근데 마무리 산지기 체도 배서 제바이나 그래서 대상 공수라 다 내가 용서다 다들 제시고 말해서 이 전투죠.
Then Cheryl also said, I will not talk to you about the benefits of giving. I will talk instead about the faults of grasping. So this sentence in relation to the ordained ones, ordained practicing generosity. So I will not talk to you about the benefits of giving, and I will talk to you instead about the faults of grasping. So if you have a lot of resources and wealth due to the power of previous merit, yet if you do not give these material things to others, then faults. Then there are faults of grasping, or there are faults of holding on to your wealth. So in general, even though in general it applies to all, however, in this particular context, it specifically refers to the ordained ones.
다 임바라고 뭐를 다 취지지 뭐 집에 산지지마 다 나지 용다 돼서 들어와 다 임바라고 뭐들 다 임바라고 뭐들 다 근데 취지지 뭐 집에 산지지 뭐 돼서 그래 다디 용다래 다 취지지 봐서 다 담비 취신지 뭐라고 땜바다 다 졸아서 그 언지든지 간다 레지 다 카나마도 다 간다 엔딜로거를 카나마도 안 해봤으나 단 리브 등아 니와 내가 되게 취대도 봐 그러와 리브 등아 만지면다 다 대화라야 이거 받아 대신에 벤도 용바 등의 용마고 디진 요아 요다 등이 탈라나서 된 바들 간다 취시스나 다 취시스나 가서 칸의 취시 라마고바지 셰나 간다 디진 중요하게 샤와지 두두원다 취시 샤와래 동아다 파트야게 내가 간이지로 같이 도면은 취시 한다 와 셰나 디진 중요하다 동에다 파트야게 등이 빼다 링아 이승부터네 간이지 도면은 다 취시 샤와 된다들이 취시
So subdivisions of the nature of generosity itself. So in terms of nature, the generosity has three. The first one is generosity of the Dharma. The second one is generosity of fearlessness. In other words, generosity of protections from fear. And the third one is generosity of material things. So these three are very common. So when we talk about generosity of the Dharma, is to unmistakably teach the holy Dharma, to teach the worldly activities, such as crafts and so forth, in a way that is logical and free from wrongdoing. So free from wrongdoing, meaning is, I say that it will not cause the suffering result to arise, and then instead it will place the sentient beings in the state of happiness, and then it will it will benefit others. So that is what in a way that is logical and free from wrongdoing. So free from wrongdoing refer to it doesn't bring forth the suffering results. So in a way that is logical, then as it place others in the state of happiness and it bring benefits to others. And when we talk about generosity of Dharma, so Dharma not necessarily refer to as a verbally giving holy Dharma to others. It basically refers to the body, speech, and physical, verbal, and mental actions that brings happiness to others. That brings happiness to others, or that frees others from suffering. So those actions are Dharma.
당가서 담비 소로지 되었어 봐. 랑기베 건두지도 신지 말로가 시도야. 때 얘나봐. 신지 말로가 시도야. 다 디리 좋아나 좋아. 소로지 때 신지 말로가. 다 소로지 때 신지 말로가 많이 받아 소로지 때 로바 시바이나 다 얘나 Mechi, Rana Mechi, Yabucham, Kandarua, or the sort of Shinji Malabat, she to buy Shobaina Touch, one Chishimba, Nanda Chavar.
So if we talk about generosity of giving Dharma teachings to others, such as those of profound teachings, then we ourselves have to understand unmistakenly the meaning of the scriptures. So so from our side, we have to put effort in understanding the meaning of the scriptures unmistakenly. So otherwise, if we do not understand the meaning of the scriptures unmistakenly, then don't mention about benefiting others, then you will cause harm to oneself and to others.
That is the highest concept. That is the time that the moment you want to never that is the moment the moment you know what that should be like Jesus lost about them. Julasoba. That the someone can never to buy a witch by that the Munjibishi was.
So the second type of generosity is generosity of fearlessness, or giving protections from fear. So it's to thoroughly protect others from fear of humans, such as kings, bandits, and so forth, and fear of non-humans, such as lions, tigers, snakes, and so forth, and fear of the elements such as water, fire, and so forth, such as flood, such as the earthquakes and etc. So all these are generosity, amazing practice of generosity of fearlessness.
That's some Sanzi Jimba. That's Sanzi Jimba Kanda dire. That Kanda Shila was Separua. That in that Hajang, that's Sanzi Jimba Dina, as a Pansa Manu Chibu. That's Pansa Novaina, paint while energy, Ninga, that is Sanzi Jimba Tambaina. The Pansa to the pesos of the say that group of the chip of some half of it and down to Vaina. That should be chosen. That you also sort of pay. Jesus give a hammer on the pesos of the Ponce, which you will pay the paper. That's also the paper. That part of the way needs to be Gangi that Tawada, a Dunga Tawada, the Digital half of it down to Vaina. That I should raise away.
The last one is the generosity of material things, is to give material things to others. So basically is to give things to others in order to eliminate their poverty, or in order to give things to those needy to those needy. So and when we say practice or give things, material things to others, then it's good to give things to an unmistaken recipients. So when we give things to others, that the recipients of the gifts, is good to be an unmistaken one. So why do we say that? When we say unmistaken, meaning that you understand you understand the purpose and the reason of giving these things to the person, to the recipients. So if you do not know about it, then in general, it does bring some benefits. However, it is good to give things to others, to unmistaken recipients, having understood the purpose and the reason. So if not, if you give things to wrong kinds of recipients, then it will only brings harm more than benefits.
That's somebody Gilaches, Lilong, Gisena, Maliba Chobi Gilaches. That was Jimbatla, that war, I need to know Sarwa. That Gila chases in a Katupa, Debuji, Samotamba in a Kodebu Shivaina, Jimbi, Jimba Tombe, Penda, Matombe Nemi, St. December Gilachiasi, and the Dilas and Mashtown, Dodo Shina, Jimba Tombe, here is somebody Gilacha, Jimba Matombe Nemi, Zimbi, Tendige, Sembate, Gilachi to Vaina. That Chichana to Chit, Nancy Lama Lewa.
because Jimbe Penguin and Jimbe Matang and Yemi the same like here.
Oh, and this same, but Dodo teach and Bashir to snatch.
So the next outline is how to generate generosity in one's mind. So is the method to generate in one's mind. So if we were to summarize the whole thing here under this outline, the summary is to generate in one's mind the benefits of generosity and the disadvantages of not giving things to others.
Oh, this is right. That they will answer the Lilonche Sena Maliba Jomba Sanjin. That should be part of the Shimpan Jugas and then you marry that Lilonche. Lilonche la Kanta Sena, so Sena Maliba Jomba Sanji, as should be part of the Shimba Chavas and Dish. Yes, that's the Shimba Tombaina. That Jimba Tomba leader Lonche Sena Maliba Jomba. That Sena Chia Meba. Sena Chia Meba Tendiji, Sanji Shimba Tombaina, that should be part of the Passion Chavas and should be part of the Shimba Tuma Ristano. All the Shimba Tuma, dear Karsana. Sena Sevaran, the Chagi Chatobare, the Chagi Chatobari, that native Dutchman, Dutchman, Pansa. Denica Pansa, Denica Pansa, that De Pawantaji, Jimmy part of the Shimbaina, that native Dutchman part of the Shinsar, and Dutchman part of the Shinsar. They're part of the Shinsan, not part of the Shinsan as Sanji Pisharwa. Oh, in this was that Kanda Sena Maliba Jumba Sanji should be part of the Shimba Mare, Kari Hinsana, Sena Sevaran, the Asham Christopher, yes. So long the Hajang chant through a senator. I just hear like Palma paper, so be Hachan and Ziniki through the shy. Oh, dear, yes. That native Dutch Maranja, Senna, Senate, Pasha, Sabina Jabba, Sabina Jabba, some Pansa, yes. Senator, Sabin, some Pansa, yes. They Pansa was that they Sanji, part of the Shimba, yes, was that the Shimba.
So basically, it talks about to generate in one's mind the benefits of practicing generosity and the disadvantages of not engaging in generosity. So generosity is not perfected by merely destroying all miserliness towards one's body and wealth, and because the two types of Hinayana arhats without exception have also abandoned that along with all its seeds. Given that miserliness is included in the factor of attachment, is necessary not only to so up to this point. So when we talk about giving things to others, so when we talk about generosity, so generosity is not perfected by merely destroying or eliminating this miserliness towards one's bodies and wealth. The reason is because the two types of Hinayana arhats, hearers arhats and solitary realizers arhats, they also have already abandoned miserliness together with their seeds. So because the miserliness is a part of attachment, or it belongs to the category of attachment. So since hearers and solitary realizers arhats, they have already abandoned miserliness and their seeds, then these two Hinayana arhats would have perfected generosity as well. So because of this, therefore, generosity is said not to be affected. Generosity, that's why it explains that generosity is not perfected by merely destroying all miserliness towards one's body and wealth.
And you do point out that this is another one, and you do custo de roi, you do custo de roi, on the sharp custo de roi. Or this one's a dig on the Sena Pomba Tangia as you should chat to Marius that in the logo is roi.
So we understand, right? Because when we talk about solitary realizers arhat and hearers arhat, they have already abandoned afflictive obscurations. So that means they have already abandoned miserliness that is a part of attachment. So when we talk about attachment is an afflictive obscurations, right? So they have already abandoned that is a part of attachment. So if you say that generosity is perfected by merely destroying miserliness, then these two types of Hinayana arhats would have perfected generosity as well. So because of this reason, then therefore generosity generosity it says that generosity is not perfected by merely destroying all miserliness.
Somebody tapan jewelry, that can people do somebody tapan jewel. What the vision the Jevaina, they can dear as in part of the shoe, yes, under what? That the world must change with another money trying one living.
Yep. So it's necessary not only to eliminate the obstacles to giving, which is miserliness or clinging to all things. So miserliness is an obstacle to giving. So it's necessary not only to eliminate miserliness, the obstacle to giving, but rather to generate from the depths of one's heart, but of giving away all one's possessions to others. So, but rather to continuously generate from the depths of one's heart the thought of giving away all possessions to others. So from the depths of one's heart, to give away all possessions to others in order to benefit others, in order to accomplish the welfare of others. So for that, then it is necessary to meditate both on the faults of clinging to things and on the benefits of giving. So as taught in the Moonlamp Sutra, then the former refers to the faults of holding on to things, that the body is unclean, the life force fluctuates like water gushing down a steep mountain, and both body and life force are under the power of karma, thus lacking an independent self. Therefore, you should see things to be false, like a dream or a mirage, and then cease your attachment to them. If you do not counter or you stop your attachment, then you will come under its power, under the power of attachment. Then you accumulate great faulty conduct, misdeeds or negative actions, and because of this, one will go to the lower reverse.
The old period, period, dog leader, Saint Kichi, Gigi, Kichi Shima, Roy Batagadi, Medabada, Medaba, China, Mazai, Jump of Lisa, Mazan, Mazai. Kanda Jumazan, but with the leeches on Gigi, the Nijila Pet, that GP Roa, Jumameba, Lana Meba Chanchu Toba, Toyana, Tapana Little Dinner, Lana Meba Chanchu Toyana, that in time, but Hatacham would name by yes about Takanda, here the Roa, and the Lana Meba Chanchu Toyana. That day do good of reason with Takanda, period, down by in a Roa, down by in a bed. Kanda ngaso tanya de blite mazang rangi li barwa mazang rangi barwa mazang luji rangi madaba de chali res yina ya de tawala la pe za chenbo rinta da tawa la me changju de ji tu na da de tai wi da wi se da de do do de barwa.
The second, the benefits of giving are as taught in the compendium of trainings. In this way, my body and mind pass away in every instant. If I attain permanent, untainted enlightenment with this tainted, impermanent body. So tainted refers to the unclean body or the bodies with negativities. So then this obtained for free, more like have I not obtained the priceless ones? So these my understanding, it should be like this: have I not obtained the priceless ones? Because when we talk about these with this tainted body, tainted and impermanent body, this body that is tainted, unclean, and impermanent, if on top of this basis or with this body, if I can attain permanent, untainted enlightenment, enlightenment that is free from faults, free from negativities, then have I not obtained the priceless ones? In other words, is so by giving things to others with by giving my body to others, by giving things to others, if I can achieve the permanent untainted enlightenment, why wouldn't I? So that means you should do so. So regarding this, there is a story about Buddha. So you all should have heard about whatever, but you all have heard about it already regarding the previous lives of Buddha. Then Buddha, in previous lives of Buddha, then this Bodhisattva Mahasattva gave away his body to the tigress. So by giving his body to the tigress, and then in order to save those small cub, the tiger cub. So here it talks about the faults of holding on to wealth, possessions, body, and etc. So when we talk about this body is also an object of giving as well, because the nature of this body is unclean, and then the body and life force fluctuates like water. So it goes away very fast, like the waterfall, and is not stable because it's impermanent. So there is no reason to attach to this body. So in relation to this, then this story of previous lives of Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, gives his body to the tigress. So there was one tigress gave birth to few cubs, and then this tigress was so hungry, and to the extent that this tigress might eat her own cub. So with this Bodhisattva knew about it, then due to compassionate motivations, he gave away her body to the tigress. So he gave this gave his body to the tigress. So and he said that there is no need to search for the food for the tiger. So this body itself is the food. And then out of compassionate motivation, this bodhisattva gave his body to the tigress. So the summary of this is entering, as mentioned in the summary of this outline is from entering the bodhisattva way. Describes how generosity should actually be generated. I give away with no sense of loss, my body as well as my possessions, and all my virtues of the three times to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings. So the three to give three things to others: my body, my possessions, and my virtue or my roots of virtue to others. So by familiarizing oneself with the thought of giving again and again, these familiarizations or these meditations will become complete.
She combined Kadupe Senape, so we ninja the be, ninja shoot our pig, Hachan Gang, she wasn't changing with Chumbaina, that been ninja shoot our shoot leg. Tell Lene, the tongue is at the levity, Ya tell a comba, I was in Mabina, that was dance at the levity, the Tama to the this ones are the Latilacanda, Sunjari, that Dilacanda, Yabado, Samba Jungle is Yanni on the Mutiny, combating the jungle, yes, that you know, Jack and Legion of the time.
Since your current determinations is immatured, or your current habituations is immatured and of little strength, you should not actually give away your flesh and so forth, even though you have already mentally given away your body to sentient beings. So even though we have mentally give our body away to others, then however when and because of lacking of familiarizations and the thought of giving is of little strength, that when the recipients of when the recipients of the giving is actually present in front of us, because of all these reasons, then we are unable to give our body to others. So this is because of lacking of familiarizations and of little strength. So nonetheless, the compendium of training says that if we do not train in the thought of giving away our body and life now, we will also not be able to do so in the future, owing to a lack of familiarity with it. Therefore, it is necessary to train in that thought from now on.
That Hindi Jibin never lives, they can't live. That Samba Tabani Pessinchilla Longi, Lee Longi Sigit, some of Hila Tanya, Hila Tana. That Hila Tan Sadi, that the Lunchiba, that Hila Tan Sadilla, that Hendido, that Chiba shower, Hingi to the Legamidi Chigi, is a Samba Taba, in Samba de Meba, Samba de Genie, they rang it to Hila Tan Sadi, Rani turned the Lunchibaina, Rangi, Lunchibaina. That Nimuji to the Chibu, yes, that didn't want Nimuji to it. That Uncle Lilo is a machine about Tan Savashi, Roa. Tan Sadi, Kayanja Uncle Lunchi or Anja, and Uncle Lunchi with it, that kind of day, Rangi Tendo. Shingi Tendo Masambachi, that Rangi Tendo, Tendigi, 세바的有呢现下的今年的龙节吧呢那年目几动啊这年吧节我的是我的人给人呢把当才的话不同步我的这年目几动啊节我的是我
So thus is an afflicted infractions or afflicted transgressions when out of craving you use food, clothing, and so forth that you have sincerely given away to sentient beings, having forgotten the thought, I will use these for the welfare of others, and instead using them for your own welfare. So, when we say that, I dedicate my body and my resources, my wealth, and my roots of virtue to others, and if out of craving, you use those food, you enjoy those food, you use those food, clothing, and so forth that you have already sincerely given away to other sentient beings, and you forget, and you have forgotten the thought that I will use these or enjoy these for the welfare of others. I will use these for the welfare of others. So you forget. Out of craving, you use those food, and you also forgot the thought that I will use these for the welfare of others, and then you use it for your own welfare. These will become a fault of afflicted transgressions.
但你把这刚才谁把你买了是路多，但谁把买得了差别谁把你过了，去做了差别，谁把你买呢？但甚至谈起来没问题，的结巴一样，结巴啊，甚至引起就是到得了差别呢，但年目就嘛一不多，几个人别年目就多，几个嘛也是。但让了别让了给你谁把你买吧，让给切的话，给你谁把你买呢？但甚至谈起来没问题的结巴一呢，甚至引起个切的。 단지를 미는 게 제바이네요. 인식이 시도 때려 차네. 간다. 차바이나다 내무지 많이 비동아 지금 내무지 좀 지금 말이에요.
Yeah, and it is a non-afflicted infractions or transgressions if, without craving, you forget the perceptions that includes all sentient beings. In other words, you forget the perceptions that it is for the sake of others, or if you attach to those things for the sake of other sentient being, then these will become a non-afflicted transgressions. So if without craving, but you forget that is for the sake of other sentient beings, or if you attach to those things, but you use it for the sake of other sentient beings, then these become non-afflicted transgression.
다 대지라 간다 신앙을 받대다, 그봐? 다 신앙을 받대다 신지 제서, 근데 신에 또 한게 농지나, 다 마신에 던지기 신탕산에 쏟아지 방방지고 그래야지, 다 동네에서 자고 그래. 다 한게 배 그가 봐 신앙 뭐 살아와, 신앙 뭐 차이 제서, 네, 한게 배 신지 봐 하고네. 다 신지 봐 하고 싶고 소소 농지 봐이나, 하고 싶고 농지 봐이나, 다 농지에 그 때 땅에서 방방나 보지나. 다 보면 동다지구나 방방지역이 책이나데 동다지구나 때 방방지역이다 다 책나 보지 샤와이나 다 방방지역이 다 산나 방방지역으로 해서 그러나 농지에들라 다 방방지역이 책나 보지다 넘어서 뒤서 말아 이거래 당아서 보면 동다지구나 방방지역으로 해서 책대가 놓이나 이마이나 다 수도 농지에다 동다 다 현지만 비시 돈에 데 농지에들라 수도다 들 농지에 바이나 데 방방기는 해서 방방지역으로 해서 그다 당아서 자와신나라 다 자와신나로 징계를 위해서 뭐 간다로와 다 마신이 비폰 봤을 때 그나 되로와
Yeah, so it is
신랑은 맞다.
So it is stealing. So it is stealing if you use for your own sake those things dedicated to others, knowing that they are someone else's property. If those things are valuable, it becomes a defeat of the pratimoksha vow. So the pratimoksha vows of stealing. So it is a stealing if you use those things that you have already dedicated to others, those things, those wealth and etc. So if you use it for your own sake, and then knowing that it belongs to others, knowing that they are someone else's property, and if those things are valuable, so if the value of those things are met, so for example, it it is different according to countries. However, if we were to say that, the limit of the things, the limit of the value is 100 ringgit. So if those things are, if those things met the requirements of 100 ringgit or the limits of 100 ringgit, then it becomes a defeat of the practice moksha vows of not stealing.
New Marisa, that Sinchi Korangi, Longi, Longila, Koi, Shao, Yamdo, Longina, that name the Latin somebody else, that and the Mazo, Pamba, you reach the never need to go. That you had another so hungry Longidua. Hungry Longid, I shall not more taddy, they got that singing, but this ship between that injuries and this ship between half Koshi, those also will want you by now. That Pamba, you didn't have some Pamba, you know, Oh, that kind of machine is oh, that's in Koran, but more study, that's in Japan, Saturday. In a Sinti Koran, children, Longigo, Lilongid, Sinti Koran, more Saturday, Longia, Sinti Koran, children, lead it, ya, Soyada, lead la Dapogiada, digging children, Koran children, is at the least of the Lujavana, that name is what. Then you buy your money, is that is somebody is what.
On the other hand, there is no fault if you use them thinking, I will use these sentient beings well for his own welfare. So this is mentioned in the compendium of trainings. So it is faultless. There is no fault if you know that these things that I've already dedicated to others, so I use it for their own welfare, such as this body I have already dedicated to other sentient beings already, and I take care of this body for their own welfare. So I take care of this body that is already dedicated to others for their own welfare. So if you use this body in this way, then there is no fault. So however, if you use those, so as mentioned earlier, if you use those things that you have already dedicated to others for your own welfare, not for the welfare of others, then this will become the defeat of the Pratimoksha vow.
That depends on the Yobona Pisha Shiguri, Cheona, the Jabutigi, Yobona, that Jabuti Koron, Jabutigi cheddar, Lambutigi, Jabutigi cheddar, that Legachin, Saya Toya Kalega, she Saya to Lucia Karina, that Koran even the Hishin Yomarwa, that the Jabu Kranzam, Jematua, that Jabu Koran Lonchi, in by Shia and the Hibitone, the Jabu Koran cheddar, that the Lonchi, and that Dubaina, the Koran never check Martina, she is. That Jabu Yobotigi, and the Jabu Yobotigi, that's I clear the Jabu no Chanjari. That no Lucia, so Korangi is what's on in Timura, that the Jabu no Jabu even this she between the Korangi Jabu Chilta and the Chawalega Jabu Chili, Sunny. They can take it on that one and Lucia, the Koran never Chigma is one. That then she is one. Also, Luswant, Lipe, you know, Chikanga, what's our in a 앞에 신기 류리 신기 답고 제차례 이나니 코랑게 류지 소야 체더니 농지구요 베지당 유여상 애들이 베지당 바인데 니가 좀 말했으면 와.
So this can understand from an example like, was it a servant of the king? So whatever the servants use all the resources or wealth of the king, right? So, however, the servants they offer their service. They work for the sake of the king, and then they enjoy those. They use those foods. Then this will not be. This is faultless. There's no fault because the servant they eat the food after working for the king. And then they understand that these foods that they enjoy or that they use is the property of king. So knowing that it is the property of the king, and then they work, they eat and they use it for the sake of the king, then there is no fault. So to understand that, I say if you have the perceptions that it is this is already dedicated to others, it belongs to others. So I only take care of this body that I have already dedicated to others for their sake, for the sake of other sentient beings. So if you do so, then there is no fault.
어디 방방 원수지 이거 원래 방방 원수지 해야 돼. 나 방방 원수지 돼 가는데 다 메인도 봐라. 삼바 타반에 가나 봐. 너는 지참아 가고 오셔와. 밀로 메인도 봐서 가고 차리. 이 제스테리네 대소소 다다소. 제스테 통이 대소소 다다소. 대신지 봐는 대시비토네. 대랑 저 현들레네 대린다. 너 제바이나 대린다나 방방 용바나 공바에 에스타 된다 드린도. 방방 용다나. 메인 도와 방어 같이 담으러와 도와 파 삼바 타반이 파 너네 때제스 때리네 뜻다서이 다소소 야 액세스네 대신지 반드시네 대랑데도 렘발라 다린탄 산나 공부이 우리 에스타딜라 공부를 해서 간데.
So how these become a defeat is when you have dedicated something with a sincere thought to a sentient being who is a human, and he is aware of it and also hold it to be his. And these will become a defeat if you take it for your own welfare. If you use this body for your own welfare and hold it to be yours, and then you take it for your own use it for your own welfare. Then and also the value, the limit of the value is also met. Then this will become a defeat.
다 니타반이 배 소소비 진바다가 다 진비추 진지기 제나 저 빠도면 버줘야 돼. 빠도면 버줘네 와. 다 또비 빠도면 버줘네 때 신제라 신바고 수도 매바. 매바 뜻이 제가 당와서 나지 이제 쳐봤어. 그래서 유튜브 쳐봐서 비교가 다 되려 된다 되는데. 와. 이리 쳐봐서 빠도면 버줘네. 때때니 봐. 신지 탕제라 버와. 세 중이 간다 심지 탕제라더니 봐 매바치네 봐 제위나 다 깔레 매바 간다 세 중부터는 쓰나 납치물이 패로 내서 그와 쓰나도 지금 배워다 때 싫어 그래야 배야 지금 요리해서
싫어요.
싫어.
Yep. So apart from that, Bodhisattva levels teaches that merit increases immeasurably and with little effort through training in the visualization. So training in the visualization to emanate immeasurable varieties of offerings and to give them with clarity to sentient beings from the depths of one's heart, then that is the generosity of the wise bodhisattva. So basically, these refer to the mentally emanating. So when we, as in the puja, sometimes then we say that, actually present and mentally emanated, right? So these refer to the mentally emanated offerings. So you visualize it to be immeasurable, these offerings to be immeasurable, and then you offer it to sentient beings from the depths of one's heart. Then these your merit will increase immeasurably with little effort, and your wisdom will increase as well.
바로 지금 두비를 시대 놓고지는 또 치그리 해서 아디 mambu 쇼시 살고 딱 버리는 거 쉬고요. 나도 개체 뭐 쉬기 잡아. 간다서서 신발아 봐. 똥이 있잖아. 나 간다. 이 내랑 이지도 그 스트레스 다들 간다 미다도 좀 간다 스트레스. 신발 똥이 있잖아 간다. 나 간다 스트레스. 이거 그 내지 수기도 써. 스트레스. 안 나지 쉬는 거라. 다 뒤에 가서 간다. 신발 똥에 가서 강에 가서 중간에 당들려도 세봐. 그게 당에 때 진바 동안에 서서 그때 이제는 강에 요마이나 다때 당들려도 세봐 지도와이나 다 쉽지로 와. 다들이 뒤에 가서 뜻진듯이야. 다 뒤에 가서 간다로와. 센시티브 기와대 봐 도자도 뭐. 상태 센시티브 기와다. 센시티브 기와 당한 상태 들어와. 센시티브 기와다 다 도자도 우리 상태시. 들리시다 뒤에 가서 상태 다 진바 동에 가서 간다. 창자 바지 두가 있으면 바지. 다 진바다 이제 렘바가 나라 다 주마다 비시 싫어. 왔다 진바 찌똥비가나 간다 다 다시 두다 되면 제대로 딱 미바 또 치wan다고 말해서 어디를 간다 와.
디시르 비콜라인 디시 차이나.
다 싫어데 간다들이 진바 동아보다 간다 진비 제다 레아보 스마트네 정신이 버셔라 들어와. 정신이 모두 버셔봐. 다 정신이 모두 버셔봐 싫어 와.
So regarding this, what I'm going to say what I'm going to say next is something that I've mentioned many times already. So, which is training in the perfections of generosity will be very powerful if at the time it occurs, it is endowed with the 6 perfections. So these I mentioned many times already. So when we train in the perfections of generosity, and then we have to make it endowed with the 6 perfections. So specifically the 6 are made complete if there is at a time the ethics that restrain the mental attentions of Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Jimmy, you are yeah. So the ethics that restrain from the physical and verbal negativities. So also when you practice practice generosity or when you give things to others, then you endow it with the other perfections such as morality by restraining your physical and verbal negativities, and then the patience aspiring for the omniscience qualities. So so whatever when we give things to others or when we practice generosity, then whatever physical or mental hardships occur, then we practice patience of embracing those hardships, and the joyous effort that generates aspirations for increasing that more and more. So, and the meditative civilization that is a single pointed mind. There is a single pointed mind that dedicates that virtue to complete enlightenment. So there is a meditative stabilization. So it's a single pointed mind that dedicates that virtue to complete enlightenment. And the wisdom that understands the object given, the thing itself, the object given or the thing, and the act of giving refers to the giver. So the person who practice generosity, the giver, and the recipient to be like illusions, meaning that is they are empty of inherent existence. The next one is ethics. How to train in ethics. This has 3 points: the nature of ethics, its subdivisions, and how to generate ethics in one's mind.
That's the reason why the points but the reason was it not devotion to Haran. That she never hit a chip, you know, points in much yes, that he never the chip between the that's just in a big kind of he never the chip between it. That kind of never the chip, you lobby. The points in much yes, that don't be to the point simple as well. Don't be such a one shilling. It's sheer by the way. City as you are. I need you don't give a chili to so you are. Or that and that as a so share that's what don't be such in my shield. Don't be such a so ya push somebody now. That's really handy that they shall do that.
So the nature of ethics is the minds of abandonment. So these I have mentioned, I'll say at the beginning of the of our class, many times already. So ethics is the minds of abandonment, or the nature of ethics is the minds of abandonment, a mentality turned away from harming others. So this is mainly from the point of view of the ethics of restraint. When we talk about ethics, there are 3 types of ethics: the ethics of restraint, the ethics of gathering virtuous qualities, and the ethics of bringing about the welfare of sentient beings. So here it mainly refers to the ethics of restraint.
That's points in the sitting there that don't be sitting so in one shibari. Yes, that's sympathy, combat pony, also dobby. That's sitting part of the Shimpanji. That kind of sitting there part of the Shimpanjuala. That's the Yata, you put the Shibanashi, Shimbalayan, and the Kumbachibanashi. That's the Layani and the Kumbachiware. Kumbachin a part of the Shimpanju mother. The Shiro the Singular nature Maliba that Tawala people when it. That's the part of the Shimpanju and Dinju Maris. Dinju Maris. That change the points and couple of city part of Shimpanju to somebody. That's the little Kumbayani and the Chineta part of the Shimpanju. That point seem sit part of it, or the singular nature points. Nature Maliba Tower. Tawala, the Trinity policy, you think you have your Marissa.
심진 장르치 장와
Singila nature member Tawa. That's Singila, the nearby the Sivachi member so dear for your Marwa. This so by the religious nothing which the Shiva Tangi. They've got the Samaji by doing what is Trinity part of the machine by doing what Kasna, and that's Singin nature that cheating is Sinja Kandre Asigo. And that's Sinjipe, nature that cheating Kandre is. Or you can't that is part of the Sinji nature that Maliba the Tawa, people couldn't get Sinji position when you yes, that is.
So ethics is perfected through thoroughly completing one's familiarity with this mind more and more. So just like generosity is perfected through thoroughly completing one's familiarity with that mind. So similarly, ethics is also perfected through thoroughly completing one's familiarity with these minds of abandonment more and more. So it's not that you externally establish all sentient beings in freedom from all harm without exceptions. So the ethic is not perfected through externally establishing all sentient beings in freedom from all harm. It is not perfected in this way. So it is perfected through thoroughly completing one's familiarity with the minds of abandonment more and more. So just like entering the Bodhisattva says, the perfections of ethics is taught. It is taught that the perfections of ethics is achieved from the minds of abandonment. So otherwise, if you were to say that ethics is perfected through externally establishing all sentient beings in freedom from all harm, since there are many sentient beings who are not free from all harm, then it would follow that Buddha wouldn't have perfected the ethics or morality. So then all these faults or fallacies will follow if you were to say that ethics is perfected through externally establishing all sentient beings in freedom from all harm.
That is another kind of Sinchi Paro the Sinchi nature that Tawala Pimari. Rani Kipina nature point. That Pumbatilla point Simbatilla Pumba Yani on the Chiva. Tell part of the Chiva Shabari Segura in the dish Shabari. Paro Bisinjula nature at Tawa Chetu Yapra, dear, she will matter running Sinjula nature point, and city, Pubayani and the Chevalatini. Look on the there's three parts when you realize that issue.
So ethics is perfected through thoroughly completing one's familiarity with the minds of abandonment that abandons harm to other sentient beings more and more. So by doing so, one's ethic will be perfected.
That was Nimba City right in my share. You are that don't be city. About that city, don't be city needed to be city. You watch it to the soil. So that I'm don't be city my share.
So there are its divisions as 3 points: the ethics of restraint, ethics of gathering virtuous qualities, and the ethics of bringing about the welfare of sentient beings.
But don't be the kind of the cheap ones in a make you a cheap point. That is the only you soon got it. And you want to Shabura and you we want China. Or you know that you want to. But you know that you want to that by agent, nothing is a lot of fun. Or want to she were. I don't know what you want to China. That make you a thing going up on the essay. I did kind of she would have wanted. Water, greater than that.
So the ethics of restraint, from the point of view of motivations, the ethics of restraint is the 10 abandonments that abandon the 10 non-virtues. From the point of view of its nature, it is the 7 abandonments of body and speech that abandon the 7 non-virtues. So from the point of view of motivations, then on top of these 7 non-virtues, then also includes the 3, covetousness, harmful intent, and a wrong view. Then that makes 10 abandonments that abandon the 10 non-virtues. So in other words, the ethics of restraint from the point of view of motivations, it is the 10 non-virtues of body, speech, and mind. So and then from the point of view of its nature, then it refers to the 7 abandonments of body and speech that abandon the 7 non-virtues.
That is Chansala contribution to that Shansi don't be sitting sota revealers of the Gumbade. That can the Shansi Kanta don't be sitting the sota the chak the charm. This one, the Chansal and the Digital and those that didn't what my she was Gumbadma. That's Sotaji, don't they Shansi, don't they in that Chiba Rajubi Sotaji, don't believe that DG, get a tumor in Pondo Gina, that don't be sitting the digital over his law. Don't be to yes. Don't be to so that don't be to yes, don't be much.
They call Padure Gonda.
Shansali is Jinwa.
Chansale,
Shansali, Shansi, Digital and don't be to so that reading as Gumbane. The Gumbane, a sort of don't they. Shansi, Shansi don't they in an the Chimba, Rajuki, should you sort of Gumbaweda. That DG the Timo in Pondo did that, don't be to yes, don't be to
yeah. So this is the intentions of the statement in Bodhisattva's levels that the ethics of restraint in the minds of a Bodhisattva is the 7 types of pratimoksha vows. So in general, when we talk about the Kazati the Sotaji doing Machawa, the Chansemi Domba de Royal. Chansemi Domba and the Sotaji doing yeah, so yeah, it's the 7 types of pratimoksha vows. So here in general, when we talk about this, Bodhisattva vows is not any of the 7, is not part of the 7 types of pratimoksha vows. So what does it mean by Bodhisattva levels that the ethics of restraint in the minds of a Bodhisattva is the 7 types of pratimoksha vows? It means that when those who possess the pratimoksha vow possess the Bodhisattva vows, so a person who possess pratimoksha vows also possess Bodhisattva vows. The ethics of restraint is the actual lay, whether it's a lay or a monastic pratimoksha vows. The ethics of restraint is the actual lay or monastic pratimoksha vows, and the abandonments and vows common to them in their mind.
Shansi Domba, Limbi Roa, Shansi Domba, Limbi Tintilla, that's all Taji Domba the Yoguri, and we soon there Sisla. Sisla, there is soon there is Shansi Domba
Sisla.
Sisla, that Signy is in the Bujila.
Oh,
but Signy is Silava. Signy is a symbol, the needle is soon there is one. That long to soon there is. That $10 did, $10 where the Lima is one. Long did to soon there. Kanda. Nisila Shanduli Betina, Kandarua, Sotaji City, Yogi Wanda, which is Sunya, yes, Signisila. That day, Gumares, the Gumares, Roa. That the religious somebody carried and then the Kalish was in the Shanduli Betela, nearby the Sotaji City, Yogi, this one, you say the Karula somebody else now, big, and that might be shown. That Naji cousin Yanni Chibi, Roa. Not because Yanni Chibi, not do because Yanni Chibi Tintela, Yenu Cho the Juma, Sonja, yes, Yenu Choima. Not because not to be Tintela, Yenu the Chore is Yenu the Cho, that you the conduct to but someone at the Kerua, Yenu the Chore is Choim de Nashino, Eva Nashi, that Shansi Labala will be Chotela. Shansi Labala team, little bit Chotela, that's what I read in the Bashi to the Shansi Labala Chotela. Shansi Labala, Lonki Samala Guma, yes. Shansi Labala, Loniki Kangala Sota reading what it did, Sota Dumba the Dinguma, yes.
天狼星讲是给拉巴罗贝电错的啦，
电错的啦，那说他就懂吧的，电把就也是那的，
是他给懂吧？
我说他就懂吧，摇把去，他说他自己摇把去，但在狼里送嘛，狼里送的地里也是嘛，狼里送的，想自己那把那边电错的啦，那说他就。自己摇过的也是，等待的过的也是。
说他给出听，
我说
都没出听的有。
我说他都没自己摇过的也是。
等待的。
我等待的摇过的送的也是，他等待的几把的。那么这趟想自己，老把了，电把了，说他就自己摇过嘛的也是，摇过嘛的也是。是因为是了，这里摇个把这我就送来的，等待的也是我的。
说他给出听的有的，都没出听的有。
他想自己那把那边电错的了。想自己那把那个电错的了，他说他就懂把了，电把就也是我。我经常想自己那把弄开的了，说他就懂把电过嘛的也是。这电某个要被军事搞的是呢，想自己那把他的那样的路是有的是，是有的是吧？他的那路了什么的有的是，
他有的，
他的那没嘛有嘛，他的那路了什么的是有的是，
他有的。
老开想自己那把老开，
讲给老板弄的。
他们记得了是的，他们记得嘛了，都记了嘛。
Yeah. So regarding these, then lamp of the path to enlightenment. There is a verse. It says that the basis who take the bodhisattva vows must have or should have the pratimoksha vows. So in the lamp of the path to enlightenment, it says there is one verse, and the words it says that the basis who takes bodhisattva vows, the basis who take bodhisattva vows should have a pratimoksha vow. So this is the words, the meaning, literal meaning of this verse. However, it is not necessary. So the meaning of this verse or this saying is one should have the ethical discipline of pratimoksha. One should have the ethics of restraint of pratimoksha. One should have the ethics of restraint of pratimokshas. So just like when one practice tantra, so the basis who practice tantra, there is a saying also. So the basis who practice tantra should be supreme, fully ordained ones. So there is one saying that the basis who practice tantra should be a supreme, fully ordained ones. So this is the literal meaning. However, the meaning of this meaning is it doesn't because it didn't. Yeah. So similar to this saying that the actual meaning and the literal meaning is not exactly the same. So similarly, in this context, when the supreme basis who train in the bodhisattva precepts should have the ethics of restraint of pratimoksha. So ethics of restraint is different from pratimoksha vow. So so the supreme basis who practice bodhisattva precepts should have the ethics of restraint of pratimoksha, and not necessarily that he or she should have the pratimoksha vow.
他等到了他都过年过了些，看他想自己拉巴了，路边电的了是吧？想自己拉巴了，路边电的了，自己用个电的了，他说他是懂把的，姑姑的原来住了有过的是对有个马来是了的，他都把过年过是吧？想自己拉巴路边电的了，说他是自己有过的为什么对有个马来是？这浪的对有么个呢？浪的里送下的卡了的是有个把那东西送到啊是，浪的里送下的。想自己那把路边电错的了，别讲的说他是自己有个是送把的也是，人家的也是，那么想自己那把路边电讲个了，说他是自己有个嘛的也是， But that is called the
Yeah. So so to make it, as I to put it in a way that we can understand is when we talk about the basis who train, a basis who train in the bodhisattva precepts, then should he or she must he or she possess bodhisattva vows? Sorry, I repeat. A basis who train in the bodhisattva precepts, must he or she possess pratimoksha vows in his or her mind stream or not? And the answer is not necessary. Not necessary. So, but there is a verse in the Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment says that the pratimoksha vows is needed. So it means that a supreme basis who train in bodhisattva precepts should have it, but not necessarily that all basis who train in bodhisattva precepts should have it. So only the precept 错的啦，那啲有嘅嘛，都那啲樣現代那啲樣啲有嘛的話，yeah, the supreme basis who train in bodhisattva precepts should have it, but doesn't mean that those who are not the supreme one, so other bases who train in bodhisattva precepts should have it. So you see the difference, right? One is supreme basis, another one is basis who train in bodhisattva precepts. The supreme basis one should have it, must have it. And those who are non-supreme one, then they are a basis who train in bodhisattva precepts as well. Then not necessarily that they should have, not necessarily they must have pratimoksha vow in their mind stream.
That did kanda you mogu ba the country is chance ji la ba lo bi tin la ta de ji la so ta ji sitting yo ko ma re se de yo mogu bi su cha gre ji
so ta ji dong ba yo ma
o ta so ta ji sitting se ma wa de so ta ji sitting yo ko ma re se de mogu bi jun se kar re se na chance ji la ba lo bi tin la lo da tun ro da o ji su yo la da lo da tun ro su yo re se chance ji la ba lo bi tin la ta so ta ji sitting lo bi tin la 다 미마도 미 하다 들어다 그래서 저니요 말습니다.
미 소타기도 봐.
소타기도 봐. 소타 리지요. 다 소타 리지기 땡들라. 소타 리지기 땡 이게 땡들라. 다 간다. 맞아 룰을 손자래. 미마이 빈 도와다 샹그 드라마니만 도미 힘마이노 도바토비 힘마이노 손자래. 미마이 빈 도와다 샹그 드라마니만은 도바토비 힘마레세. That's what I do about him. I raise like that.
Me mind.
Oh, me my even do. That me my even do. That how I look. That the notice Tamal coach over. That Shansi Labalo with the door to go as Casimir Sinjaka to Chisarwa. Shansi Labalo get the door to get to you are. Door to get you are. Oh, dear, that chibadri.
Because me mind you draw down and it's
Jungle banana. Don't to be him. What's it?
Yeah, and the reason why not all basis who train in bodhisattva precepts must have pratimoksha vows is because those bases who train in bodhisattva precepts also includes naga being, the gods being, and also animal beings as well. So there are animal beings, gods beings, and naga beings who train in bodhisattva precepts. Just like beginning when we talk about the Mahayana, when we talk about the bodhisattva precepts, we do mention that in Lamrim text it says that those naga beings, those gods beings, etc., they are the suitable basis to train in bodhisattva precepts. And because of these, then in the scriptures it says that the basis to take pratimoksha, 8 types of pratimoksha vows are human beings only. So the basis to take 8 types of pratimoksha vows are human beings only. So those non-human beings, such as animal beings or naga beings, then they are not the suitable basis to take pratimoksha vows. So even in terms of human beings, then other than the northern beings in the northern continents, then other 3 they are the suitable basis to take any of the 8 types of pratimoksha vows. So only the northern beings in the northern continent, they are not a suitable basis to take pratimoksha vows together with other non-human beings. They are not the basis to take the pratimoksha vows as well. So, and because of this, therefore, it is not necessarily that the basis for training bodhisattva vows must have the pratimoksha vows.
That is what Doa Janto Nibata Lung to Salamamboy and Doa Lung to Samamboy Andarwa.
Yeah, so in the Vinaya text, it says that in order to take 8 types of pratimoksha vows, the being must be a human being, and even being a human being, it must be a beings not from the northern continent, because because those are not the basis to generate pratimoksha vow.
That is what thinking that you should mambo should you do that's the mambo you that is that the Katuma a shansi jiji saw taji dombane a chanju simbi jiji domba in shansi domba mares that is a cheva shemba chibua shansi jiji saw taji domba yorwa that shansi jiji saw taji domba de that chanju simbi jiji domba res chanju simbi jiji domba de shansi domba mares
the Tamadiro. Yeah, because the Chansingi Domba.
Shansi Sotaji Domba Yoro. Shansi Sotaji Domba de that Chanju Simiji, Sudi Domba yes, in a Shansi Domba Maries.
Yeah. So the pratimoksha vows in the minds of a bodhisattva are ethical vows. So ethical vows or ethics of restraint, they are ethical vows, and they are not actual bodhisattva vows. Pratimoksha vows in the minds of a bodhisattva are ethical vow. They are not actual bodhisattva vows. So whereas other vows share a basis with the bodhisattva vows. So the pratimoksha vows in the minds of a bodhisattvas, they are ethical vow. They are the ethics of restraint, but they are not the actual bodhisattva vows.
And Chanju Simbi Jiji, Chanju Simbi Domba, Sotaji Domba Yavachi, Shijaji, Domba, Chanju Simbi Digital, Sotaji Domba Yavachi, Chanju Simbi, Chansi Domba Yavachi. That Chansi Domba, Sotaji Domba Sope, Zetadiva, Susuni Dioramato, Chicha Kayomare, Chicha Kayomata, Kashiki Mochi, Domba Tadis Lani Yori, or Rishingi Yori. Kanda Zeti Tadini go, Tadini years. Junse Carnesina, Mazu, Chanju Simbi Digita, Chanju Simbi Dilashana, and you know, Chanju Simbi Dombanica Dini, Kazala Shana, and Chibarwa. That Chanju Simbi Digita, the Tadeva, Nidi Jusecasna, Mazu Sotaji Domba, the Yapia, Ya Pizza Jella, the Chansi Domba Tehara Nidir. Co, never child. There, Macha is the what Zetadeva images it, Roa, what Zetadeva, so need your decision. Or Dirwa. Oh, so that the pizza wine, pizza the mesa, lava poor, ship was a lava pure that Shilugala, that Dumba, don't the man never child, or the man never child. Lava poor, ship you are saying, lesson, say lesson you are, so that is so gala, that Dumba never child. Oh, the Nissons are, then also that changes in Bijis Yana, Tangazo Carnijana Chibarua, or Sotaji Dumbada, that Shansi Dumbaso, Kawachila, Masu Sota Rijibo de Tatamutila than Jesus.
That's all. Yeah, so we have to understand that the Pratimoksha vow and Bodhisattva vows in the mind stream of a Bodhisattva, in the mind stream of a Bodhisattva, are different substance, are two different things, are different substance. They are not one. So even though there are scholars who say that the Pratimoksha vows and the Bodhisattva vows in the mind stream of a Bodhisattva vows are of one nature but different isolates. So, however, the common assertions is the common assertions is the Pratimoksha vow and the Bodhisattva vows in the mind stream of a Bodhisattva vow in a Bodhisattva are two different substance or two different things. Otherwise, when we talk about the Pratimoksha vows can return. So yeah, can return to we can return Pratimoksha vow. So if when one return one's Pratimoksha vow, and yet when one return after one return Pratimoksha vows, then the Bodhisattva vows in his mind stream still remain. So we can return vow. So if one return his Pratimoksha vows, then the Bodhisattva vows in his mind stream still remain. Why after one return the Pratimoksha vows and the Bodhisattva vows in his mind stream still remain? Because they are of two different substance. They are two different things. So therefore, after you return already, after you return Pratimoksha vow, then the Bodhisattva vow can still remain. So therefore, that is the reason why we say that the Pratimoksha vow and the Bodhisattva vows in the mind stream of a Bodhisattva are two different things, are different substance.
So Sota Rije or Sota Rije, but some of the Tateba, the Tateba, Kawachila, Tapa, this origin Dama Nashi.
Kawachila
Tapa, to the Din Damayana, Tapa Chima Lembaina, Shinaba Dijarua.
Tapa Dun, Kawachila, Tapa Dun said.
Kawachila to Damba. Tapa Damanashi. That Tapa remote Chika Malembaina, Shinda Hadir, Derwa.
The Tapa Jitenwaina,
Shinda Hadirwa. She Dimash let the Malembaina, Shinda Derwa. Ever Nashing as a sort of region what the Zeta de Patrini, the reservoir. The money by the Demazo gets to Labaya Pizzadi, Genig Dumba Puaina. Yeah, gets to Dumba Pia, Genu Dumba Pia Chazo, Lumarwa.
Yes, gets to Dumba Conda Yaga.
Or gets to Dumba Puaina, that Dumba Shinda Nidirwa. Dijarwa. Well, that the Chiba is Kandarwa, but as you could ship on
that's all. Yeah, so there are 8 types of Pratimoksha vows, and these 8 types of Pratimoksha vows, they are a different substance. Yeah, they are of a different substance. There are 8 different substance. So it's just like if you tie 8 ropes. If you tie 8 ropes to a pillar, so when you pull away one rope, then the rest of the rope still remain intact, right? Still tied to the still remain tied to the pillar, right? So through this example, it explains that the 8 types of Pratimoksha vows, they are different. They are different substance. So when you pull away one, then the others remain. Yeah, so just like if you because the Getsugi Domba de Puaina, yeah, so when one return a novice vow, then the other vows still remain.
I tell you, today stop here.
So sorry, we stop here, and today we have no time for question and answer. We'll stop here.
약간은 나니 들 마주다 미게라서 되다 봐요. 얘도 더 중앙 신뢰가 많이 라이치다 약간의 신지 마주다 내려서 대진지 스킨 체는 대체나 같이 뭐 통해서 디바트 산지 분만 얘도 더 언더 리치 방어야지다. 안 예반년 답서로 바로바지게 한번 미셔봐 왼쪽도 로바지게 콜라 참아봐 기타와들한테 산지 kuma 얘도 더야 언더 리치도 밖에서 지금
We conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated since beginningless time, especially through these Dhamma discussions, may be a complete course for Buddha's teachings to spread in all 10 directions, and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long, excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities be accomplished instantaneously and spread in all 10 directions. In particular, we dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabshin Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche's live eons long, excellent health, and may Rinpoche's enlightened activities spread in all 10 directions, and may Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may the world be free of wars, conflicts, pandemic, and disasters. So may wars and conflicts and disasters such as flood, earthquake, etc. be pacified immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who pass away, especially those who pass away in pandemic, wars, and conflict. May their negativities be accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately, and may they quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who suffer, and especially those who suffer in wars, conflict because of in pandemic. May their sufferings be may they quickly be free from suffering, and may their life be filled with excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others. For example, those who help others financially, and those who and like doctors and nurses. So may their life be filled with excellent happiness, and may their wishes, may their holy wishes be accomplished. Sabye wa di tendang zhuwa kun la kambe na keba jizun lo sang zhaba yi tenbe nyingbo rindo se je zhuwa jakchu senjo rinpo je ma keba na ke gyuji nyamba me ba yang konde kondo pewa zhuwa jambe ba we chida kenpa na kondo sambo de an de shinde kungi jesu ta lo je keba de da dam je rabdo mo tongi tawa rinpo je ma keba na ke gyuji keba nyamba me ba yang konde kondo pewa zhuwa tawa rinpo je ma keba na ke gyuji keba nyamba me ba yang konde kondo pewa zhuwa Name gewe den zingyo bewe kunze dobo ze chosong kuwe leme dudu bata zo do je ge do shabde zhu tong yi ni je sung do ju be lang chi che se ze ten de gen chana primo ten zing ya zo la so wa de so she de le do zhu ye kan de pen de ma lu ba kan de jung we sam be yi shin no ka de su me ten zing ya zo la de so do she le do zhu kan ri ra we ko we shin kan de pen na de wa ma lu jung we ni che re se wang ten zing ya zo yi sha be si de ba du ten yu ji.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gisela.
Thank you, Gisela.
Thank you, Gisela. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Gisela. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gisela. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy dinner. Yeah.
Senjananggo.
Too
Too early. Not sleep yet.